everybody, and welcome back to the Leeds Lens for a show that I didn't think we'd be doing for a while. Truthfully, I almost never thought this situation or this situation might actually happen, but I do actually think this is a huge story in Leeds United's future and what we're hopefully going to see in Leeds United in 2, in 3, in maybe 4 years' time. And that is, of course, that the stadium has finally been approved by the council and it will be starting to be built later this season. This is fantastic news. It really, really is fantastic news. As people know, it's going to 53,000 seater, making it one of the biggest stadiums in the country. It's exactly what Leeds United need to be. We've talked about this on this channel for the longest time, about where this Leeds United club should be, where potentially this Leeds United club can get to. And I think when we're talking about Leeds United trying to get up the league in terms of, can we get into Europe in a few years' time? Can we slowly progress through the leagues and finally get back to almost where we all feel we belong? Well, if you are going to do that, the stadium is influential as to how you're going to get back to that level. It is. It's your home. It's what you're all about. And fundamentally, this, as I said, this story, people might disagree with me, but I think this is a huge step in the development of Leeds United, not just as Leeds United on the pitch, but Leeds United as an institution, which we should be. That is where we should be. We should have a 53,000 seat stadium. We already should have a 53,000 seat stadium, but we know for 20 years we were completely and utterly run into the ground by terrible ownership. But finally, we look like, yes, the owners people can question at times, but finally, in terms of stadium development, we look like we're finally getting onto a path with Elland Road. And I must admit as well, and I don't think it's been said enough regarding this stadium expansion, I am so glad we're staying at Elland Road. I can't think of anything worse than a modern bowl. I hate modern bowls, can't stand modern bowls. All you need to do is listen to West Ham fans for 30 seconds and he'll tell you the worst thing about their football club is leaving Upton Park and going to London Stadium. Yes, they're going to be relegated. Some fans will say the relegation can happen. Moving from Upton Park was horrendous. And I'm so glad that we're developing our stadium, making the stadium look better, getting to 53,000 seater, going up from, 36,000? I can't remember. It's 36,700 something, I believe, at the moment. And getting to a massive institutional stadium that puts us on par with the likes of Villa Stadium, with the likes of Newcastle Stadium, which is exactly where this football club, this historic football club, should be. And we should be there, as I said, we should be there now. This is something that should have happened 10, 15 years ago. But because of poor ownership, it's took a while. But we are finally, I do feel like today, it's the start of momentum of getting on the right path. And it's nice because we had an awful result yesterday. So it's nice today to have some more positive news to look at the future of Leeds United. Obviously, fundamentally, this season will be built around, yes, the stadium's looking good and that's fantastic. We've got to stay in the division though. We have to stay in the division this year, and that is vital for the progression of the football club. But this has to be a step in the direction as well. Jaguar Seal says Leeds are very lucky with their location outside the city centre. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Evening, Scott. I've barely recovered from last night, says BMG. Well, can I take your mind off it for maybe half an hour, BMG, as we talk about some really positive news regarding the stadium development? Obviously, as well, important that this stadium upgrade takes the stadium to a UEFA Category 4 stadium. Now, for anyone that probably doesn't know what that means, basically, that allows us now to hold big sporting events at the ground. We might get, say, if the World Cup was played in this country, we might actually get a World Cup sort of game played at Elland Road. And this is important. As I said, we should have one of the top 10 stadiums in the country. It's vital for Leeds United as a progression of football. It's vital for attracting players. It's vital for bringing more revenue. Apparently, this stadium is going to bring in 29 million more revenue per year. Obviously, the match day facilities will improve on the inside and the outside as well. The stadium and the pictures that we've seen from it, that you've seen on the sort of thumbnail of this video, look fantastic. I just can't get over how pleased I am with this. And obviously, the massive season ticket waiting list, which I'm probably one of the 26,000 people on it. It didn't say how long it's going to be until people get on, but there is going to be people that are obviously joining through the season ticket waiting list. I actually know someone that works at Elland Road as well, and they are optimistic about there might be a number of seats that get taken up, and we might finally dig into that 26,000 seater season ticket waiting list. BMG says, what capacity will be? It will be 53,000, mate. 53,000. Now, as I said, also important that we stay in this division because, as I said, I know this Leeds United fan base is unbelievable, but if we go down, I would slightly concerned if we can do 53,000, but let's leave that for another day. We're 8 points clear. We're in a good position. And also, as I said, we're looking like we should stay up as well. I believe on current form, Leeds will stay up. Yeah, I do, Jaguar Skills. It's the first time I've probably said it all season. BMG says, smash the like, folks. Thank you very much. Yeah, if you could help the channel by dropping a like, subscribe, all that good stuff does massively help the channel. Thank you, BMG, for mentioning it, because I always forget. But it does massively help the content if you guys can interact and sort of like, subscribe, all that good stuff. It really genuinely, as a small channel, massively boosts me. Like if you all like a bit more than usual, that video gets pushed high in the algorithm and it gets put out to different people who see this content for the first time. It just really helps me. I can't really express it enough. I know people like for likes all the time and it must become boring to listen to. I get it. But it does, as a really small channel, it does massively help me. So if you could do that, it'd be brilliant. And also, as I said, work should start. The main start of the work should start immediately. Apparently, enabling work start immediately. Main construction should obviously be after the season. And also important to note, there's not going to be Elland Road will be able to maintain its majority of its capacity through the development of this stadium, which is massively important. Again, we don't want to be moving to another ground. Like I know when Tottenham were doing their new stadium, they had to move to Wembley. I didn't want that, and they found a way, obviously, to keep Elland Road open. Yes, it's going to be a reduced capacity. I think you're going to have some negatives, people. It can't be everything perfect, but we are going to have a reduced capacity for a bit. But long term, as I said, this is honestly, this is vital for Leeds United's progression. And when we talk about, as I said, when we talk about even Leeds United going into the market, if we can bring more money into the football club, which this will allow us to do, our revenue increases, which means our money that we can spend in the transfer market increases because we've got more leeway on PSR. Another massive importance for this as well. So for club growth, for revenue, for long-term ambition, everything that you'd want and everything we want to see with this football club, having a stadium that sort of represents that is hugely important. Do you know what the current capacity is? And who has the lowest capacity in the Prem? The current capacity, mate, is something like 36,000, and then it's like 700 and some, I think. I'm not exactly sure the exact number seats. And who has the lowest capacity in the Prem? It's Bournemouth, I believe, who hold about 12,000. Yeah. But I mean, in terms of stadium and size of the club, they really shouldn't be in the Prem. They are in the Prem and they deserve to be in the Prem for what they've obviously done in recent years, Bournemouth. But they fundamentally, as where clubs lie, we should not be competing with Bournemouth realistically as where we lie. As I said, though, the main aim now is we've got this going on. The 49ers have pumped money into the stadium. We knew this was going to happen. It's finally happening. But it's now about, we need to keep this club in the league. That is fundamentally what needs to happen. Then we need to keep the club in the league and hopefully progress a bit next season. Then we need to keep the club in the league and progress a bit further the year after. And then we can start looking like a team, in my opinion. Because this is not going to be done overnight. We're not going to be this fantastic, unbelievable club overnight. We have got to build on this and go slowly and build and build and build. But it didn't take Aston Villa that long. Yes, they had the stadium in place already when they were in the Championship, of course. They did their stadium development much earlier than we did and were doing. But you can see the progression that they've had as a football club, and you get the right manager in. Obviously, our manager's doing really well at the moment in Daniel Farke. And you can see something, a vision for the football club. And it's nice because I think sometimes sometimes you struggle with Leeds at points, and I have done over the years, where I can't buy into the project and I don't see the project. At the moment, I must admit, I buy into this project and I see the project. And it's much easier to support the football club when you've got something to believe in. And I think, as I said, I can see where this is going as a football. I can see where we're trying to do. I can see what the 49ers are trying to do. It's just important now that, as I said, we stay up in this league this year and we don't get relegated in future years as well. Because obviously, as soon as you lose that Premier League money, this stadium is going to look ridiculous in the Championship if it was ever to happen. Anyway, let's move on from the stadium, but massively important news. 12,000 is crazy. Yeah, I know, mate. It's tiny ground. It really is. I think they're looking to develop it, though, from all accounts. This is what the clubs are doing at this moment. You've got to develop it. You've always, because you need to get the more money into the football club, which obviously allows you to spend more in the transfer market. Spurs have done a really good job with this in terms of their stadium's multi-purpose. It holds NFL events there. It holds people might not like this. They don't really want NFL games being played at football ground, but if it allows us to spend more money in the transfer window, I'm kind of all for it. They've also got a racing track, I believe, underneath the football club at Spurs as well. They've got a lot of ways of generating as much money as humanly possible. And I think this, obviously, part of this stadium, what we'll do is, yes, we're going to go to 53,000, but the aim of the game is, can you get fans in earlier and spend as much money as possible while they're in the ground? That people might not like this, but that is the modern football way. The reason you make Elland Road look so fantastic and all the facilities so much better is we want people, rather than just go for 90 minutes for the game, they want them to go an hour before, eat a really expensive pork pie or whatever you want to have. Stay at half-time, have a few beers at half-time, and then stay after the game and have a few more drinks in the ground. And that's how you turn a more, and then go to the club shop and buy 3 shirts. That is how you progress as a football club. That is the strategy of the 49ers, and that is fundamentally why they're upgrading the ground. And there will be upgrades to the outside of the ground as well to sort of benefit with that. Villa were well below us when Emery joined. They showed that if we stay in this league this season, our chance of staying up long term will go up exponentially. Yeah, it will. I always said this season it was obviously about survival, but if we stayed up this season, I mean, Baron Cross was saying on a podcast of the day, the idea is we're going to spend another £100+ million this summer again. He said it won't go to 200 million this summer, but you're looking at maybe 100, 110, 120 million. It'll slowly increase. And if we put another 110, 120 million pounds into this squad in the summer, we shouldn't be getting relegated. We just shouldn't be. Think in your head now. We all have different ways of doing this, but if we all put 100 million quid in and we bought 3 or 4 players, or we bought 5 or 6 players, other people, or we bought different positions, all of them would massively improve the squad to the point where the likes of Coventry's coming up, that might come up, Middlesbrough's, Ipswich's, they shouldn't be able to compete actually with the squad that we've got, and we should stay in the league then. And as soon as you stay up one season, it's miles easier to then continue staying up. And then when you stay up a third season, you get another 100 million on top of that, and your squad's then so good it almost can't get relegated. And that is what Leeds United have got to get to. But then you've not got to rest on your laurels like we've seen Wolves do and we've seen West Ham do, and sell your best players and reinvest in crap. You've got to then keep investing and investing and investing. And that is what you've got to do. Apparently stadium events like concerts are a huge part of revenue with a big stadium. Yeah, they are. There was a Taylor Swift concert, I believe, at Tottenham, and it made a few million quid. And that again is what Leeds United have got to do. I think the Etihad are quite good for holding events. I think the Etihad held a Coldplay concert, I think, as well. And that again, that's what we need to turn Leeds United into, an arena that can hold other events. It's tricky to do that because obviously the fundamental of it is we want to make it the best football stadium, and you want to keep all the noise and all the sort of traditional feel about the ground and keep it feeling like a football ground, as I said, rather than what you've got at West Ham. But in the same regard, you've got to find a way of making it multi-purpose, because fundamentally you don't want a stadium that's used once every 2 weeks and not used at all in the summer. It's got to be something that every single week, hopefully every single day, is used, and that is where the planning and sort of how you make it a multi-purpose stadium is bearing in mind. And as I said, people might not like that, but that is how you generate revenue, and that is how you get better players and better players on your pitch in your football club. This is the modern game, people. You either get on board or you get relegated, and that's kind of how it is. Anyway, that is enough talk about the stadium. We've managed to talk about it for 12 minutes, which I didn't think was possible at the start, I must admit. Anyway, let's move on to a few injury updates. So, Daniel Farke was obviously talking pre-derby in today's presser, and he basically said that there's a few injury concerns. Dan James is still expected to be out. Bogle, although he's recovering from this calf injury, won't be risked. I must admit, with this Bogle situation, I don't know if you guys are thinking this yourself, but it definitely crossed my mind when I saw it today. I'm starting to worry about the Bogle situation. I might be wrong, and I'm hoping he's just playing back he comes straight back in the Fulham game, and we can all rest a bit. But Daniel Farke has done this a few times before, where he said that players are back and they've not been then they've continued to not be in the squad, and we know obviously how important Bogle is. And I don't know if he's trying to sort of playing a bit of 3D chess almost, or however you want to work it. If it be playing a bit of poker with the opposition managers, thinking that Bogle's going to start and then he isn't. I'm just hoping with this Bogle situation that he's okay now, because we got told, obviously, going into the Man United game that it was a minor injury and he might even feature in the game. Then he didn't play. Then he wasn't at all in the matchday squad for Man United. Then he wasn't at all in the squad for Newcastle when again he was a doubt, but maybe come and play. He's got to be back for Fulham. He's got to be back for Fulham, because obviously, regardless of what we're thinking, realistically now, with losing to Newcastle, we probably are going to need to at least get something against Fulham, probably win the game, especially with like Everton away and Arsenal coming up after that as well. It's important we keep ticking these points over, and we obviously keep West Ham feeling that they're definitely relegated. So let's hope that Bogle is back fit, because I'm looking at this moment, and if Bogle's back fit, Longstaff, the update on him is that he'll be back as well. He should play a few minutes against Derby, and then he'll be fit to fully start against Fulham, which is fantastic news. So as I said, we're getting back to a point, and I said this a few days ago, that we've managed to actually get through the Christmas period actually with not too many injuries. Which, to say how many games we've played, is really good. Like, we haven't picked up a big injury to like an Ampadu or a Stack or a DCL or a Beal, some of our most important players, which is really positive. Not to Goodmanson as well, who, because we haven't got massive rotation there, obviously at left wing back, that's a positive for us as well. So we've actually got through this period well. We picked up a lot of points in this period. Yes, we lost last night, but overall in the Christmas period, we picked up a lot of points, and we haven't got many injuries. And hopefully going into this Fulham game now, basically outside of Dan James, we should have a fully fit squad, which is great news. And it also looks like Rodon's just was cramped yesterday because he was holding his hamstring at full time, which is I guess is going to happen. So yeah, that's sort of how the injury news is looking. The goalkeeper situation, I think I was going to bring up today. Obviously, we talked about it to death yesterday about Perry. But what I found interesting today was that sort of Daniel Farke talked a bit about it. Said, look, we understand that he's made mistakes. That can happen. He's still adapted to the league. All that, fine. That's what he should be saying. But he did say that Darlow was going to play against Derby, which obviously won't come as any sort of surprise to any of us lot. Obviously, Darlow was always going to play in the cup games this year, playing the game against Sheffield United, I believe, early in the season as well, of course, when he did make a bit of a howler, but regardless. And where I'm looking at now is, to be honest, I don't think this will happen, but in my personal opinion, I would play Darlow against Derby, which he will do. And then if he has a good game and doesn't drop a few howlers, I would then play him against Fulham. I think there is enough reasoning now and enough sort of poor performances for Perry for me to think he should be dropped, if I'm being totally honest. Not to be totally negative, because as I said, it's still positive at this moment and we're going well. But my opinion is now that we're getting to a point with Perry where he's costing us points. He cost us a point last night. He cost us 2 points against Man United with that sort of awful run out that he didn't need to do. Falk said it himself in that game as well. And I think if Perry is to play in goal, the reason you'd pick him, obviously, his kicking's absolutely garbage, and that's a problem. But you'd expect then he makes up for it in other areas. He's not even making up for it in other areas at this moment in time. And I think Darlow is a better shot stopper than Perry. I think he's got less mistakes in than Perry. But even if that was the case and they were a level playing field, he's miles better with his feet. So it almost neglects the point. And as I said, for me now, obviously, as I said, Darlow is going to play against Derby, which obviously Fark confirmed. But if he plays well, I would then pick him because he's got that game under the locker. He's not coming in completely. He's coming in quite fresh, actually, because he's obviously and ready to go because he's obviously played in that game against Derby. So I would actually pick him if he plays well. But, I don't think... In fact, I can tell you for a fact that he won't. And the final thing I want to mention, it's not a big story today. This isn't a big story particularly. But I found out today, we saw rumours of this in the summer, obviously, but apparently in the summer, Tomas Soucek was obviously linked to Leeds United, as we know, but he actually rejected a move to Leeds United in the summer, which, as I said, I'm not going to talk too much about, but I must admit, with where West Ham are and obviously the post-match interview that sort of Tomas Soucek did on Tuesday night after the West Ham game, and what sort of squad he could be in with this Leeds United and how we're getting on at this moment, what a bad career move for him. What a shocking career move. To be fair, in the summer I understood obviously why West Ham looked more appealing, and it's just funny now to look back and sort of see the fact that actually I bet Soucek is sat there thinking should have gone to Leeds, maybe should have gone to Leeds in the summer. But that's, as I said, that's assessment to what we've been doing recently, and that's important. Anyway, let's get into your guys' comments, and then we'll probably wrap up the show. Villa were below us when Emery joined. They showed that if we stay up on this season, our chances of staying up long term will go up exponentially, 100%. Apparently, stadium events I've read that one as well. That's the point. Our extra money and the lack of quality of the promoted clubs keeps a huge advantage if we survive 100%. Yeah, if we survive this year, we should stay up for a while. But I mean, we've done this before and we've messed it up. So I'm not sort of counting my chickens yet for sure. Another big worry with Bogle is that he's not actually injured. But he's getting sold. He's not getting sold. Fark adamantly said, obviously, I think there's potentially tongue-in-cheek there, BMG, because I know what you like, and obviously we have this sort of dynamic. But yeah, he's not getting sold, I don't think. Perry is dodgy, but none of his errors have been total howlers yet. Okay, this is a bias against him. One creator said he was lucky to escape with that disallowed goal, which is nonsense. Right, let's have a talk about Perry, because it's an interesting point. And I know you've liked Perry, because I think you've defended him before, BMG. The nonsense about the Shah goal yesterday, Shah literally backhands it out of his hands, so I will agree with him. My dad said the same thing, and I told him to shut up when I was watching game with him, so I agree with you on that. Perry has made howls, though, now, in my opinion. I think he has. You might disagree with me. I think the one yesterday is a howler, the fourth goal. I don't think the one against Man United is a howler, if I'm being totally honest. It's a mistake, but I don't think it's a howler. The one yesterday is a howler, though. It is. I mean, it's low. It's slow as I'm not going to swear, but it's so slow. It's unbelievable. it's an easy save for any Premier League goalkeeper, and I don't think there's a Premier League goalkeeper that wouldn't save that, in my opinion. And as I said, Perry's always going to have to, if he's going to be picked over Darlow, he's got to make up for it in other areas. He's got to be really good handling. He's got to be a really good shot stopper, because he's absolutely garbage with his feet. And like, you look at sort of Nick Pope in the other goal, and he does that. I know he's not been fantastic this season, actually, Nick Pope, but over the years in his Premier League time, Nick Pope's been awful with his feet as well, but his handling's been unbelievable, and he makes fantastic saves, and he's a really good shot stopper. His reflexes are fantastic. He moves around the goal really well. He catches every cross that comes into the box, and he's seen from outside the box has always been really good, except this season for the most part. And so you understand why his feet can be bad, and you can almost make up for that in other areas. Perry's not doing that at this moment, and that's his problem. So as I said, for me, I would drop. I would start Darlow this weekend, which he's going to do, and then if he plays well, which I think he probably will, I would then drop him. Although I've got a bad feeling we're going to lose the derby, but that's another conversation for another day. You could say the same about Somerville, who faces a similar fate with Soucek. Yeah, you could, but obviously Somerville moved from the Championship to a Premier League club, so it kind of makes more sense, whereas we were a Premier League club when Soucek turned us down. But I do get your point. Anyway, thanks all for watching, as always. As I said, if you could help the channel by dropping a like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and let's celebrate this positive news, because I think it is massively positive news today. I really think it is, and I think, as I said, when we look at the long-term future, which we don't like to do a lot of the time, because fundamentally the target is to stay in the league this year, and we're always micro-focused on that, which is completely understandable. But this is a huge positive in terms of the next steps for Leeds United and the long-term future of Leeds United. And you've got to celebrate these times, because I almost never thought the day would be the case this would ever happen, even though it's been planned for the longest time. BMG says, I do think Perry's a worry, but you can't compare his errors with what Meslier did. True, I agree with that. That doesn't excuse Perry, but it puts in perspective. Pope should have saved Aronson's second, maybe. I disagree with that. I thought it went off the post, and I don't think he should have saved it, in truth. But yeah, I mean, I've said it a number of times with Meslier. I said it last night, actually, because somebody commented about Meslier. It wouldn't be Meslier anyway, it'd be Darlow, wouldn't it? This is what I don't get. So, yeah. Anyway, thanks all for watching, as always, as I said, and I will see you later, everybody. Bye for now. And tomorrow, obviously, it will be back at the normal time of 8 PM, because obviously tonight's Arsenal-Liverpool, so I guess you guys didn't want to miss that. And I always enjoy the Friday night shows, as you know. It's a bit more chill, a bit more relaxed. We get a lot of your guys' comments involved. It's usually my favourite show of the week. So definitely stick around for that tomorrow if you are around about the 8 PM time. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later, everybody. Bye for now.